Hey there, YouTube. I'm shooting this video because I've actually gotten a lot of questions when I was showing some of the setup for my IDPA gun, and some people noticed that I have the two different slides. I have one set up for 9mm, and I also have one set up for 38 Super. Um, this slide, I know it says TCM on it, but it's actually one that I use dedicated for 9mm. I chose to use one of these for 9mm just because it was already milled for the nice Bomar or LPA sights, and I really like those. I also just kind of aesthetically like it. It's got the flat top. It's got a really super low ejection port on it, which is kind of nice too. But these particular slides are basically, for all intents and purposes, they're pretty much the same. So you can actually see I was out shooting today, so you can see the nice little star pattern of the gases escaping nice and evenly on the 38 Super here. So that's always kind of cool. But I get basically the same thing on my 9mm, except I happen to wipe that one off already. So these are both using full-length guide rods. This is using like one of the Novak style sights, and this is a Dawson Precision sight. And the reason I chose to do this is because then I can use two dedicated slides that I already have the sight set up for on. The 38 Super shoots a little bit different than the 9mm point of impact, point of aim wise, and I use the same frame. So this is actually a tactical Rock Island 1911 9mm frame. Now you wouldn't be able to do this with a 45 just because the ejector is going to be different. So where it mates up in the back is a little bit different on a 45. So the slide actually wouldn't clear the ejector, which is why the 38 Super and the 20 and the 9mm are kind of go hand in hand. So this is just a regular 9mm frame, and on both of these I'm using the EGW like carry melt bushings or whatever, but I just kind of like them the way they look, and I fit them for these pistols. So a lot of the questions that I was getting were all around like, well, does it fit? Is it drop in? What's the deal? And just give me a moment, because this takes some force to get this off. I gotta press down my recoil spring plug here and turn my bushing out. So this bushing's really tight. I fit it pretty tight for this particular gun. So as I'm taking this apart, I'll kind of show you the differences. So spring rate wise, I'm using the same spring I use in my 9mm. I'm using a 12-pound Wolf recoil spring. The same factory spring that comes in a 38 Super from Rock Island. Like I said, the bushing's different, but you don't have to use a different bushing. I could have used a regular 9mm or 38 Super's bushing. Just takes me a little bit of wiggling to get that out of there. This is an Armscor 38 Super barrel. So this is just a 38 Super barrel. It's actually one that I took out of my GI 38 Super, and I don't know, I've had really good luck with this barrel. I just couldn't stand the sights on the GI model, and I figured, you know what, I'm gonna just make a tactical slide for it. It's a little dirty, like I said, so sorry about that. We were out actually sighting it in today. And this is just an Armscor barrel, so it's just a standard barrel. It actually shoots really well. It shoots really nice tight groups, and it actually mates up with the breech face really nice on this slide. So it's actually got a very good barrel fit. But like I said, it's basically all drop in. This slide originally was a 9mm slide, and it originally held this barrel, but I put it in this TCM slide just because of those things I mentioned before about me liking the sights and some other little aesthetic things about this. But this one also seems to fit this slide really well. So drop in, whatever. I mean, it fits real nice and easy. So now this one I actually shoot a little bit lighter of a spring, but that's that's a whole nother ball of wax for the particular loads that I'm running. Also, the other difference is I actually use two different slide stops. I use this silver one here for the 38 Super, and I use this one for my 9mm. For shooting like IDPA, I actually have it like shortened because being a lefty, I can't push this out. And I have these both kind of tuned for the individual magazines, because my 38 Super magazines and my 9mm magazines, for all intents and purposes, work the same. But I had done a little bit of modification to this one, so this one's kind of just for my 9mm. You wouldn't have to do that. So like I said, this is a 9mm breech face, and the nice thing about this, and all I can find are my cheap calipers here, is that it will actually clear the distance needed for a 38 Super. So taking this is an Armscor 38 Super round here, I can actually very easily just slide this up under the ejector and it fits in there perfectly. I didn't even have to change the extractor tension on this. I did take it out and just do a little bit of like, internal like polishing work to it and stuff like that to just kind of fix up the angles a little bit and make it nice and smooth. And I did tweak it just a little bit, but I ran it without any modifications in it, and it ran fine with a 9mm. Now, if you're doing something like this, you probably know what you're doing anyway, so you'd know how to tune an ejector. I'm not going to go into all that stuff, but I didn't have to. We did this on a couple of my buddies' guns as well, and we did find that not all the 9mm slides are created equal, and I'm not sure if you can see this in here, but there is a little section in the breech face here that on some of the Rock Island slides may need to be relieved just a little bit, just down here near the bottom of the breech face, may need to be relieved just a little bit to allow that 38 Super round to fit right up in there. But on probably 3 out of the 5 or 4 out of the 5, I think, that we did this too, because a couple of my buddies saw this and really wanted to do it to theirs too. We didn't have to relieve them, but just because it'll accommodate the 9mm, the 38 Super is just a little bit different. It's a semi-rimmed cartridge, so it does have a little bit more of a flare at the rim, and it was basically nothing. Now, I don't have the right tool out here to show you, but just a small, and this is not right, but normally you'd use like a small diamond needle file and just open that up just a little bit, a hair at a time. Make sure that you're, getting it to the right, specs. Maybe grab a Kuhnhausen book or something like that. But you can use this with a traditional full-length guide rod or a GI guide rod. It doesn't really matter. I had one of these, so that's what I used. But essentially it was drop-in. I didn't change the firing pin. The firing pin's the same. The firing pin stop's the same. The extractor is a 9mm extractor, which is the same. The ejector I have sort of kind of cross-tuned for both of my different rounds. But for all intents and purposes, you wouldn't have to. With it being a lowered and flared ejection port, it's going to get it out of there anyway. But yeah, the 38 Super is a pretty sweet shooting round. So if you had interest in it and you have a 9mm, technically you could just drop the barrel in, and as long as it will clear the breech face and everything like that. So you're going to want to try like hand cycling it and everything like that before you just go out and take it to the range, Like I said, I'm using a 12-pound spring. I know some guys that use lighter, some that use heavier. But essentially I can put this 38 Super barrel, like I said, it's a drop-in barrel from Armscor, so if you go out and buy like a cart or something like that, you have to keep in mind that obviously you're going to have to fit that barrel, and that's, if you've never done it before, it's not something that you might want to just jump right into. And also a lot of the 38 Super barrels are going to be like Wilson Nolan cuts or para cuts, Clark cuts, whatever. But these are non-ramped, so because these barrels are non-ramped, they'll essentially drop right in, and you won't have to do anything funky, cut the ramp in your pistol or anything like that. But you want to do the normal thing you would do if you're doing a barrel, changing a barrel, making sure that you have that 32nd of an inch, or just obviously do a little bit of research and check your like Kuhnhausen book or whatever. But essentially, I could drop this barrel into any 1911 9mm that I've got, and throw in a 38 Super magazine, and it'll work just fine. Like I said, I changed the slide stop because it won't lock back on the last round with my other slide stop, but that's because I have it tuned for the exact magazines that I have that I use in this with this particular slide. Getting it to fit is no problem. I mean, you could slide any caliber magazine in here. You can take a 45 ACP magazine and slide it in there. That's not going to be a problem. But like I said, you can't just put one of these slides on a 45 because the ejector channel is going to be a little bit different. So hopefully that answers some of your questions out there. I do get a lot of questions on that particular conversion, but it's actually probably the simplest one there is. So hopefully that helps out a little bit. And if you have any questions, I mean, you can feel free to ask me. I'm a little slow on the comments getting back to people, and I do apologize for that, but I'm pretty busy. So yeah, so there you go. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.